The story begins in a dungeon, where a girl named Emily is surprised to see a man as a drop item. She wonders if it's human-shaped meat, and plans to slice it up. To her surprise, the item speaks, and asks her to stop. The man, whose name is Ryota, learns that he was transported to this fantasy world as a drop item when Emily defeated a slime. Initially confused by his situation, Ryota witnesses Emily defeat another slime that drops a bean sprout. Emily explains that in this world, defeating monsters gives them drop items, while Ryota remains confused about how he ended up in such a place. As they continue, he wonders why she only hunts slimes, and she explains that she's not strong enough to fight higher-level monsters. She hopes to level up by working hard, and proceeds to show him a status board that displays a person's status. Emily's level is shown as 3 out of 40, and her stats are primarily power-based, with her drop status at an F rank. She explains that having a higher drop level results in more drops when defeating monsters. Ryota checks his stats, and discovers he's at level 1 out of 1, with all his stats at an F level. He realizes he can't level up since his maximum level is 1, however, all his drop stats are at an S rank. Emily considers it the worst rank considering the leveling system usually works in alphabetic order, but Ryota, who has been watching Isekai Insights videos, thinks otherwise. He decides to test it out, and looks for a weapon. Emily hands him over his giant hammer, but he can't lift it up. She then lends him a bamboo spear, and Ryota manages to defeat a slime, which drops many bean sprouts, impressing Emily. She mentions that she has been coming to this dungeon for 2 years, but has never seen drops this plentiful, and this confirms Ryota's belief that S rank is higher than A rank. Feeling hungry, Ryota joins Emily for lunch, where he enjoys a delicious bean sprout dish, and compliments her cooking skills. He tastes her soup, and becomes emotional. He opens up about his previous life, where he worked tirelessly until he fell ill. To make up for lost time, he worked overtime, but his hard work never seemed to pay off. One day, he missed his train and took a nap at his desk, only to wake up and find himself in this new world. Emily comforts him, assuring him that his hard work will never go to waste, and they bond over the meal. Later, Ryota inquires about finding a place to stay, and Emily reveals that there's a town located outside the dungeon. She explains that due to her limited income, she sleeps in the dungeon every day, but hopes to rent an apartment someday. They bid farewell, and in the following days, Ryota learns more about this world. He discovers that the currency of the world is called Pyro, and that he can earn money by selling drop items. He learns that a meal like ramen costs 500 Pyro, and staying for a night costs 2000 Pyro. Ryota calculates the amount he needs, and he begins to battle slimes in the dungeon to earn the required money. After saving enough money, he successfully rents a house, and brings Emily to see it. She is impressed that he managed to rent an apartment in just 3 days. Ryota surprises her with the keys, insisting that she lives in the house to fulfill her dream. A few days later, we find Ryota selling bean sprouts at the guild house. The receptionist, Urza, mispronounces his name and remarks that it's quite a mouthful. She informs him that level 2 of the dungeon Tellurium drops carrots, and also informs him about a new dungeon called Nihonium, that showed up recently, and is being investigated by the Neptune Group, the largest organization in the area. Urza, who wants to be part of Ryota's harem, invites him for a beer, but Ryota, being the Jigachad, declines the offer. When he returns home, he's pleasantly surprised to find that Emily has cleaned the entire house, and treats him like royalty. He discusses the new dungeon with her, and Emily mentions that she heard it's a useless dungeon with no drops. The following day, Ryota decides to investigate the new dungeon. He encounters a skeleton monster that attacks him, but a large rock crushes the monster, leaving behind a seed. The seed disappears, and his HP increases. Later, he checks his status board with Emily, who is shocked to find that his HP actually increased. In the following days, Ryota and Emily continue to explore the new dungeon. They observe that when Emily defeats a monster, it doesn't drop anything, but when Ryota defeats one, it leaves behind a seed that Emily can't pick up. Ryota deduces that this dungeon is a stat booster specifically designed for S-ranked individuals. During breakfast, Ryota shares that thanks to the new dungeon, his HP has reached S-rank, and Emily expresses concern about Ryota's tendency to overwork himself. Recalling how in his previous life, no one had worried about him, Ryota promises to return before nightfall. While exploring, Ryota encounters and defeats a slime on the second floor, which drops a large carrot. Another slime appears but is defeated by an adventuring party, dropping a normal-sized carrot. They check Ryota's stats, and mock him for being at level 1, and leave. Suddenly, a bunny girl appears behind Ryota, but his riz doesn't seem to work on her, and she thinks of him as a level 1 trash. She gives him a smack, but nothing seems to happen, which surprises her, and she leaves. Later, Ryota returns home and informs Emily that he earned a significant amount of money by selling carrots. He has also brought some carrots back for them, and Emily plans to make something delicious with it. Just then, they hear a knock at the door, and to their surprise, it's the bunny girl again. She smacks Ryota once more for his low level, but mentions that she wants him, leaving Ryota shocked. She says that she wants his huge carrot, and as he wonders if his riz finally started working on her, he learns that she actually meant the real carrots which he got from the dungeons. Emily wonders about the bunny girl's identity, and we see the bunny girl bringing a guy who she smacks, injuring him badly. She wonders why her attack doesn't work on someone with such a low level as him, and Ryota thinks it's probably because his HP is at rank S. The bunny girl then shows Ryota a big carrot, which reminds him of a carrot he had dropped in the dungeon, and suddenly disappeared. She expresses her desire for more such carrots, and drools when she sees the carrots they have. Emily invites her to have dinner with them, and prepares a dish with carrots. The bunny girl praises Emily's cooking, and thanks them for the meal. She immediately leaves, and Ryota wonders that they didn't get her name. Emily and Ryota remember how they always used to eat alone, and then decide to continue eating together from then onwards. The next day, Ryota investigates the second floor of the dungeon, and encounters a zombie. During the battle, his spear broke, and the zombie punched him in the face, but it didn't hurt him due to his S-rank HP. He starts fighting back and defeats the zombie, causing it to drop a seed that increases his strength. The bunny girl, who was stalking Ryota, inquires about monster drops. Ryota hesitates to reveal his secret, but he realized that she simply wanted some carrots. Later, Ryota brings the carrots to the guild and offers one to Eve, which surprises everyone since she's known for her high standards when it comes to carrots. Learning of her preference for his huge carrot, Urza proposes to buy all of them from Ryota at double the price. Ryota discovers that the bunny girl's name is Eve, and she has a reputation as a carrot expert who ventures into levels to get the carrots that no one else can conquer. She's also known to be very dangerous, having killed many people who were unable to satisfy her with their carrots. Urza is confident that carrots satisfying Eve's taste could fetch a premium price, and she's determined to get them from Ryota at any cost. Ryota is shocked by the amount he receives for the carrots, and finds Eve under his leg, demanding his huge carrot. However, he informs her that he's currently out of stock, but promises to bring more the next day. Following this, Ryota and Emily venture back into the dungeon, where they score another impressive haul of carrots. Ryota decides to take a look around, and he sees a girl struggling to fend off a level 2 slime, and is about to collapse. The leader of their group appears, and eliminates the slime. Despite the adventurers' desire for a short break, the leader insists they continue hunting, emphasizing that it's for their own good as the experience will make them stronger, and Ryota can't help but recall the deceptive tactics of his previous boss in his former life. Afterward, Ryota has lunch with Emily, and they're joined by Eve. While enjoying their meal, they encounter the same adventurer group, whose leader mocks their low-quality drops. Eve gets irritated by his attitude, and decides to share some carrots with his party members. To their surprise, they love the carrots, proving the leader wrong. Eve then threatens the leader for mocking the Ryota's carrot, and they leave. Afterward, she continued eating her carrots, and Ryota thanked her. Later, when Ryota delivers his carrots to the guild again, he mentions that they managed to get even more drops, but it's all they can carry. Urza then suggests the idea of using a magic cart to increase their carrying capacity. Ryota learns that it could help him transport more items, and make more money. Determined to buy a magic cart, he visits a shop where a friendly little girl greets them. The seller showcases the available magic carts, but they are all very expensive, and they decide to purchase it later. As they head back home, they hear people screaming about strays, and Emily tells him that strays are monsters that manifest from abandoned drops. We then see a King Kong rampaging through the town, and Ryota decides to fight the monster. Urza screams, who is about to be isekai'd by the gorilla's punch. Ryota appears, and stops his blow, but he struggles to withstand the force. Just then, Eve appears with some adventures, and they attack the gorilla. Ryota and Emily join the battle, and as the rest of the adventurers hold down the gorilla, Ryota decides to use his head, literally. With a headbutt followed by a powerful punch, he defeats the monster. The townspeople hail him as their savior, and Ryota hears the sound of a drop, which is strange as strays don't usually drop anything. He's surprised to see that the item drop is a pistol, and wonders why a weapon that shouldn't exist in this world was dropped. Later, he checks his stats, and is glad that his abilities are getting better due to the special seeds. Later, he goes to the dungeon Nihonium, and tries out his new pistol. He kills a zombie with it, and it drops a seed. Suddenly, another wave of zombies appears, and he uses his pistol to defeat them all. He wonders how he will get more bullets, and decides to limit its usage until he can find a solution. Later, we see Emily fighting against a green slime, but the slime dodged her attack, and Ryota saved her with his pistol. She's impressed by his weapon, and he mentions that it helped him reach his strength to be rank. Suddenly, he notices that Eve didn't visit them today, but thinks that maybe she just got busy. He then continues to have lunch with Emily, and compliments her cooking. Afterward, they went to the next floor of the dungeon, and saw cockroach-slimes. He was disgusted by them, and then sees Emily in berserk mode trying to kill all of them. She kills the cockroach-slimes, and gets a pumpkin as a drop. Ryota hopes that he doesn't get to see the scary version of Emily again, but just then many cockroach-slimes appear, and it seems Emily has finally awakened her dark side, while Ryota tries to kill the cockroach-slimes using his gun to return her back to normal. We then see that Ryota has defeated the cockroach-slimes, resulting in a bunch of pumpkin drops, and thinks they can't carry them all. Emily mentions that if they stay here longer, the cockroach slimes may appear again, with an evil laugh. Just then, Eve bursts in, asking for her carrots, and Ryota is relieved that Emily didn't transform again. Following this, they sold most of their collected pumpkins to the guild, and they went back to bring the rest in, but they were all destroyed. Ryota thought some animals ate them, but Emily sensed the cockroach-slimes, and she turned into a raging demon, ready to smash them all. Ryota tries to shoot them, but he runs out of bullets, and Emily is going berserk. With no other choice, he starts to kill them using his bare hands. Eventually, he manages to kill them all, and they drop some bullets. He returns to the guild to inform Urza that their pumpkins got damaged, but she is fine with it and mentions that if they are left abandoned for too long, they turn into strays. Ryota thinks that it's what Emily told him, and wonders about the possibility of forcing a stray. As he's lost in his thoughts, Urza attempts to ask him out, but he leaves immediately without hearing what she was saying. Later, we see Ryota using a carrot to force a stray, but Eve jumps in and grabs it. He tries again, and the carrot turns into a slime, and he shoots it down. He gets more bullets as drops, and thinks about doing the same with the zombies. Later, we see Ryota in the Nihonium dungeon, and item drops just keep disappearing. Since his experiment was a failure, he decided to go home. Suddenly, a skeleton warrior attacked him, and he unintentionally kicked him out of the dungeon. He was worried that it may turn into a stray, but it just disappeared. Later, Urza explains that monsters disappear if they leave the dungeon or if they enter a different floor within the dungeon. Ryota gets lost in his thoughts again, and she attempts to flirt with him, but he leaves again without hearing what she was saying. Following this, Ryota went to the dungeon again, and threw a skeleton warrior outside of the dungeon. He used his pistol to defeat the monster before it could disappear, and it dropped a freezing bullet. He tests it out on a tree, and is surprised by its ability to freeze objects. Later, we see Ryota freezing a slime, and Emily finishing it off. Emily is amazed by the bullet's ability, and Ryota thinks that he'll stick to the regular bullets, as freezing bullets are a bit rare. Later at night, as they were heading home, they heard two people arguing. Then they saw the car go down the hill, and the woman mentions that they needed to destroy it before monsters spawned. But the old man is against it, as he spent a lot on collecting the expensive perfumes. The old man tries to attack her, but she dodges his attack, and Emily and Ryota are shocked to see how powerful he is. We then learn that a monster named Femini has possessed the old man, and Ryota uses his pistol to defeat it. The woman then decides to climb down to stop the strays, which had turned into Feminis, and asks them to go and gather an army in the town. Ryota recalls his past life when one of his colleagues was bullied, and he couldn't help him. Back in the present, he decides to help the woman, and stops her from sacrificing her life. Then he uses his freezing bullets, and manages to freeze all of the monsters. Emily then jumps in to attack the monsters, and defeats them all. The woman is glad that they are saved, and thanks Ryota for his help. Later, we see that Emily has leveled up a lot because she killed a lot of strays, and Ryota congratulates her for leveling up. As the story continues, we find Ryota and Emily on the 4th floor of the Tellulu dungeon where they stumble upon a rare slime monster. Ryota successfully defeats the slime, which drops a bracelet. He decides to give the bracelet to Emily, raising her hopes for some plot development between them. However, Ryota reveals that the bracelet doubles the drop rate of the wearer, and he gave it to her to boost her chances of obtaining valuable items. Emily is furious, as she had hoped to be a part of Ryota's harem. Following this, Emily battles numerous monsters, and is impressed by the increased drop rate. Later, back at their home, Ryota notices that she needs a larger kitchen, and thinks of moving to a new place. He shares his desire to move out to a nicer home, but Emily misunderstands, thinking he intends to move out alone. Eventually, she's cheered up when she learns that she will be joining him, and she's looking forward to it. After that, Ryota attempts to sell the bamboo sprouts he has collected, and a girl approaches him, expressing interest in getting some. Ryota agrees to let her have one, and she shows off her ninja slicing technique to cut the bamboo sprouts. Also, for some reason she also has a plate with dip ready. After tasting the bamboo, Ryota wonders if she dislikes it, but he is surprised to learn that she loves it. Suddenly, the woman asks to buy all of them, and Ryota checks it with Urza, who is fine with it. As a result, she bought all of them, but Ryota felt a bit disappointed with the price he received. Urza then reveals her identity as the famous food taster, Eric Macy, explaining that any food she approves of will fetch a high price. She believes that bamboo sprouts will become a popular food since Macy liked it, and proposes an exclusive contract with the guild to sell them as a branded product. She plans to sell it as Ryota's bamboo sprouts, and he agrees to the offer. Later, Ryota ventured into the Nihonium dungeon, where he saw a skeleton about to attack a girl. As he attempted to help her, few other adventurers attacked the skeleton, and the girl delivered the finishing blow. Ryota soon learned that she was Princess Margaret, and that she possessed an airbox magic cart capable of collecting the monster's remains. A man tells him that the monster drops air, and they plan to sell air in a box. Ryota is impressed by their idea, and hopes to buy a magic cart of his own. He discussed this with Emily, wondering whether they should prioritize purchasing a new house or a magic cart first. Emily suggested buying the magic cart, and after saving up enough money they can buy a new house. The following day, they went to buy the magic cart, but found the little Olga crying. They learned that Olga's father didn't come home last night, after venturing into the arsenic dungeon to collect flowers. Concerned for Olga's father, they decide to go search for him. However, many monsters called Dandoroks were blocking their path. Ryota attacked them, but it didn't work, so Emily attacked the monsters, and she managed to defeat them all. Following this, they found Olga's father asleep on the ground. Emily was angry because he made Olga worry so much, and she woke him up and scolded him for his actions. They learn that his path was blocked by Dandoroks, and he wants to catch a rare light rock monster that is floating in air. Ryota and Emily team up to defeat the monster, and they obtain the flower which Olga's father needed. After that, they went outside of the dungeon, where Olga's father placed the flower on the ground, causing it to transform into a light rock monster. However, he didn't manage to catch it, but Ryota used his freezing bullets to bring it to the ground. Later, Olga's father finished his masterpiece, and gave it to Ryota as a gift as he saved the town last time. Ryota was very grateful about the gift, and he accepted the reward. The following day, they hunted monsters in the dungeon, and were amazed by the drop items they collected using their magic cart. Afterwards, Ryota arrived at the guild to sell the items, but saw an adventurer who was accusing Urza for scamming him. The adventurer threatened Urza, and he tried to punch her, but just then Ryota froze his hand with his magic bullet. Ryota then removed his bamboo sprouts from his cart, and measured the adventurer's item, which detected the same weight and price that Urza mentioned. The adventurer accused Ryota of being in on the scam, and tried to attack him. Ryota blocked his punch, and delivered a slap that sent him flying. After that, Urza feels a bit down, that she needed his help, but he tells her that everyone needs help, and she has also helped him many times. Urza suddenly approached Ryota, and kissed him, leaving Ryota in shock as he wondered when she fell for his riz. Later, Ryota and Emily defeat the monsters in the Tellulu dungeon, and they are excited as they have finally managed to reach the amount they need to buy the house. As they prepare to leave, Ryota feels a bit nostalgic as this was their first house, and they decide to keep it on lease. Following this, they move to the new house, and they are joined by Eve for breakfast, and Ryota is probably wondering when he will get rid of this freeloader. A few weeks later, Emily prepared dinner and enjoyed her life in their new house. Meanwhile, we see Ryota defeating a mummy, and as he grabbed the leveling seed, a notification informed him that his speed had increased. Just then, another mummy attacked him, and he defeated it with a powerful kick. He realizes that his strength has reached S rank, and plans to fight bare-handed for these kinds of monsters. Later, at the guild house, Ryota was approached by a man accompanied by two girls, and he wonders if the guy is just there to show off, but he challenges him to an arm wrestling match. Ryota feels annoyed, thinking that the guy is trying to mock him, and he accepts the challenge. As the match begins, he realizes that the man is quite strong, but manages to win. Ryota learns that the man's name is Neptune, and recalls Urza mentioning about him being the member of the strongest organization in their town. Neptune requested a rematch, but Ryota declined. In response, Neptune tried to punch him, but Ryota blocked his punch with his own, sending Neptune flying. It was then revealed that Neptune had no intention of harming him, and instead invited Ryota to join his group. Later, we learn that Ryota turned down the offer, preferring to continue living with Emily, who brought him joy, but Eve thinks he's just being cocky. The following day, while venturing in Nihonium dungeon, Ryota encountered a servant of Princess Margaret, who was working on a product called Pandora's Box. These boxes automatically sucks up dropped items, and imprints the person's face who found them. The servant offers Ryota a few of these boxes, and asks him to help to spread the word. Ryota wonders what he should do with these boxes, and gets an idea. He used the box to bring the leveling seed outside, and when it turned into strays, he defeated all of them, which dropped a lot of freezing bullets. Suddenly, he has an idea, and rushes into the dungeon. After that, we see Emily who is about to enter the dungeon, but sees Ryota, and wonders what he is doing with those boxes. The boxes then turn to monsters, and he defeats them. This time he gets 2 new types of bullets, one is fire bullet, and when he learns what the other bullet is, he plans to get more of these. Later, we find Ryota with a collection of various bullets, and as he's about to open his last box, he senses a powerful chill, and Emily tells him that a magic storm is coming. After that, we see Urza inquiring about Emily's whereabouts, and learns that she was out shopping. Urza learns that Ryota doesn't know much about magic storms, and proceeds to explain that it prevents people from using magic and affects dungeons too. So people who relied on magic are taking off, causing a reduction in drop items. Suddenly, a boy named Reyes approached, seeking help, as his partner Rosa was lost in the Silicon Dungeon, but no one was willing to help him. Neptune appears behind Ryota, and mentions that Silicon is a dangerous place that even he hesitates to go to, as the monsters there don't take damage from non-magical attacks. However, Ryota decides to help him, and he goes to the Silicon Dungeon. As he ventures deeper into level 3 of the Silicon Dungeon, he uses his new fire bullet to defeat a monster, and uses his ice bullet on the drop so that it doesn't turn into stray. He was relieved to find that he could still use this special bullet during the magical storm, and continued battling the monsters. Meanwhile, Emily and Eve become aware that Ryota has entered the Silicon Dungeon. We then see Ryota defeating a monster, and he has finally found Rosa. Just then another monster appears, but Ryota has run out of bullets. Meanwhile, Emily and Eve grew concerned about Ryota, and set out to help him. Emily shares a story about her mother, a strong and kind individual who protected weaker adventurers in the dungeons. She lectures them, and later has fun with them, but one day they encounter a dragon. Her mother managed to defeat the dragon but sacrificed her life in the process. Before passing away, she asked Emily to carry her and her belongings out of the dungeon to prevent them from becoming strays. Her mother was concerned for everyone until the end, and Emily believes that Ryota is similar to her mother, always helping others without considering his own life. Meanwhile, we see Ryota carrying Rosa, and being chased by many flying monsters. Ryota tries to shoot them with his regular bullets, but they prove ineffective. Just then, Emily and Eve arrive with more bullets, and zombies following them. Ryota uses the zombies to generate more bullets, and together, they defeat the monsters. They reach outside, and Reyes is sad that Rosa is hurt as he can't use his healing magic. Ryota assures him, and takes out the other special bullet which he had received earlier. It's then revealed that it's actually a healing bullet, and he uses it to heal Rosa. Reyes is happy to see Rosa fine, and expresses his gratitude for saving her. Ryota then compliments Emily for her plan to create the zombies from the seeds, and bringing them there, which saved them. He thanks them, and suggests going out to eat, but Emily prefers to return home to cook herself. After that, we see that Ryota has collected a batch of huge watermelons, and asks Urza about their price. Suddenly, Macy appears, and mentions that she wants to assess his goods. She tastes his watermelon, and compliments the summer vibes it gives off. Other adventurers also jump in to taste the watermelons, and Urza takes the opportunity to propose an exclusive contract again. Ryota happily accepts the offer, thinking that he now has another reliable source of income. Urza realizes that watermelon can be obtained only on level 5 of the dungeon, and informs Ryota about the requirement of license, without which he can't sell the drop items. Ryota learns that dungeons beyond level 5 require a special license for entry, and as a result, he and Emily visit a place to obtain this license. Upon arrival, Ryota was asked about his achievements, and informed the old man about his regular trips from the 5th level of the dungeon to Lulu, bringing back watermelons. The old man then guides Ryota and Emily to a special room, where he places a melon that was dropped at level 6, and Ryota must defeat the monster spawned from the melon to pass his test. The stray turns into a steel slime, and Ryota tries to defeat it with his punch, but it proves ineffective. He then gets an idea, and uses his pistol to shoot a fire bullet and then combines it with a freezing bullet. Looks like the lessons he learned in his chemistry classes in his previous life were not wasted, and the monster is defeated. Emily and the old man were impressed by Ryota's skills, and he successfully passes the test. Ryota received his license, and now he can explore level 6 of the dungeon. Ryota then thinks of something, and asks Emily for a favor. A few days later, we see that he placed a tuna on the ground, hoping to turn it into a stray, and we learn that Ryota asked Emily for 1.5 million piro to buy the tuna. We then see that the stray turns into a King Kong which rampaged the town in the past, and Emily is shocked to see it. Ryota assures her that he would handle it, and uses his freezing bullets on King Kong to stop his movements, and moves in for a close-range headshot. The gorilla drops a second gun, and Ryota looks forward to dual-wielding the guns like a cowboy, while Emily hopes that Ryota doesn't turn into an evil villain. Later, when Ryota returned to the guild house, Urza was facing issues with the Adalbert group that occupied level 6 of the Silicon Dungeon. They had called for a strike, refusing to sell her rice unless she raised the price. Ryota decided to talk to the adventurers, and headed to the dungeon. On his way, he met Neptune, who mentioned that the Adalbert group is causing a lot of trouble for the townspeople, and they were there to destroy them. Ryota requests Neptune to let him handle them, and he enters the dungeon. Inside the dungeon, Ryota confronted the Adalbert adventurers, and the entire gang appeared. Ryota then used his double pistols to combine the bullets, and put the entire gang to sleep. Neptune appears behind him, and Ryota explains that when he fuses 2 healing bullets they turn into sleep bullets. Ryota recalls the different experiments he had conducted with various combinations of bullets, and Neptune was impressed by Ryota's newfound power. They carried the adventurers out of the dungeon, and tied them up. Just then, a man approached Ryota and invited him to his place. We learn that the man's name is Clint Gray, and he is the dungeon chief of Sekro. He asks him a favor to join a battle for a new dungeon against their neighboring city, Hetero. Hetero is a livestock city, and the dungeons there drop meat. He explains to him that the drop in the new dungeon is half vegetables and half meat, and its ownership could significantly impact a town's economic health. As he explained, he took a handful of sugar cubes and chewed them down, leaving Ryota wondering if this guy would die of diabetes. He mentions that in order to win the ownership they need to get more rare drops, and that's why Ryota was chosen as he is known for his high-quality drops. He also informed Ryota that regardless of whether they won or lost, he would receive a reward, but if they won, he would also be exempt from taxes on his drop items. Later, Ryota plans to help him, and recalls that it's similar to the business trips in his previous life. Back then, he had had no one waiting for him at home, but now he had Emily. In the evening, he shares the news with Emily, and she was excited about the offer. To her surprise, he also invites her to come, and she agrees. Just then Eve appears asking what will happen to her carrots, and Ryota tells her that he will leave many carrots enough to satisfy her. On the following day, as they ventured, they couldn't find the dungeon entrance. Emily began drawing something on the ground, explaining that traveling from town to town was very draining, and she hoped to bring cheer to travelers by drawing a bean sprout. Afterward, Ryota decided to draw, and he drew a sperm. Sorry, I meant bean sprout. In the evening, Emily set up a huge tent, and asked Ryota to fetch some water. Upon returning with the water, Ryota was amazed to find that Emily had quickly constructed a luxurious tented apartment. As he enjoyed his pizza, he wondered how Emily was able to carry all these items, and she told him she put them in her backpack, leaving Ryota to wonder if it was some kind of special item. Emily then served him delicious sweets, and he was very grateful. Emily also mentioned that she intended to burn the garbage to prevent strays from spawning, and Ryota was surprised that trash could also turn into monsters. He then had another idea, and we see them waiting for the trash to turn into a monster. Suddenly, Frankenstein appeared, and Emily attacked him. Ryota used his fire bullets, and eventually combined 2 bullets to create an inferno that defeated Frankenstein. The next morning, he tested his new bullet on the green slime that spawned from the carrot. The slime dodged the attack, but the bullet followed it and killed it. We learned that he got a homing bullet, and Emily was worried that he had obtained another dangerous weapon. Finally, they arrived at the new dungeon, called Sealan. They saw a vast amount of garbage, raising concerns about strays spawning from it. They encountered a girl mage who was burning the garbage, but Emily remarked that she couldn't burn enough to keep up with the town's trash production. Ryota, seeing how exhausted the girl was, decided to help her. They asked her to take a rest, but she continued, and eventually passed out from exhaustion. As the girl regained consciousness, Ryota said that she should no longer work, but she continued, mentioning that everyone is depending on her. Ryota could see how she was suffering, so he shot her with his pistols and put her to sleep using his sleeping bullets. A few hours later, the girl woke up, and she was worried about the trash. As she went outside, she saw that all the trash had turned into Frankenstein monsters, and thought she was too late. Just then, Ryota shot them down with his pistols, and the girl was amazed by his ability. They told her that they can handle the trash, and advised her to rest. Later, Emily cooked dinner, and Ryota told her that they had set up the tent near the trash, so she shouldn't worry. The girl got emotional due to their kindness, and introduced herself as Celeste. After dinner, they learned from Celeste that dungeon drops are tax-free until ownership is decided, and due to this, they have so many adventurers here even at this time of year. Emily and Ryota decide to help Celeste clean up the trash, and she falls asleep. The following morning, Celeste recovered and was able to use powerful fire magic again. Then, Celeste thanked Emily and Ryota for allowing her to rest. Emily told her not to overwork herself again, and they asked Celeste to continue resting in their tent, to which she gladly accepted the offer. After that, Ryota wanted to visit the Sekiro headquarters, and Emily accompanied him as she wanted to shop in the town. They found a jewelry shop, and Ryota was amazed at the expensive prices, but also noticed that Emily liked the rings. Later, he met the Duke who was the man in charge of the Sekiro division, and showed him the sketch of the new Sealan dungeon. Ryota was surprised that it had 10 floors, and learned that odd-numbered floors drop vegetables while even-numbered floors drop meat. The team that has the most rare drops will be the winners, and the Duke mentioned that they have arranged adventurers to capture rare monsters on vegetable floors, so that Ryota could finish them off to obtain the rare drops. Suddenly, a man reported that they had found a rare monster on level 1, and they entered the dungeon. Ryota then met Harvard and Eugene from the hetero team. Harvard is the man in charge, and Eugene is an adventurer with an F-rank drop rate. Their plan is to use Eugene to defeat the monster to sabotage all the drops, which would lower the Sekiro team's chances of obtaining rare drops. Ryota then shot the slime monster, but it regenerated. The opposing team realized that the slime had a core that needed to be destroyed. Eugene then located its core, and prepared his attack. Just then, Ryota used his homing bullet to destroy the core, and kill the monster. Eugene was disappointed, and Duke later rewarded Ryota for his help. In the night, Ryota returned to the tent, and told Emily that the Hetero Association used an adventurer to lower the rare drop rates. After that, he gave Emily a ring as a present, mentioning that he is very grateful for her help, and Emily was happy about it. The next morning, Emily realized that all of her stats were boosted, and she wondered if it was because of Ryota. He told her about his experimentation with the ring, which turned into a stray monster. He defeated it, and it dropped the same ring, but with a boost effect. After that, they went to level 2 of the Sealand dungeon and encountered a tree monster. Emily killed it with her hammer, and it dropped a chicken breast. Emily was happy because it was her first meat drop. Just then, they heard a commotion, and they saw the opposing team getting attacked by a rare tree monster. The monster attacked Emily, throwing her against the wall, and Ryota took out his pistol to kill it. Harvard appeared encouraging him to kill it, and Ryota realized that if he killed the monster now, they would take the special drop. The hetero team made fun of him, and Emily had an idea. She took off her ring, and went to attack the monster. Ryota used his pistol to freeze the monster, and Emily defeated it to prevent the opponent from scoring points. Ryota thanked Emily for her help, and returned the ring to her which she took off for the fight. Later, Duke thanked Ryota for his support at level 2, and mentioned that the hetero's backup adventurers would be arriving tonight, which would triple their numbers. Their plan was to fill the odd-numbered vegetable floors with F-rank adventurers, reducing Sekiro's chance of winning. Ryota proposed raising the reward for finding rare monsters to 10 million pilo, and Duke was initially hesitant, but agreed when Ryota assured him that if he couldn't obtain the rare drop, he would pay the same amount himself. We then learn that Ryota had successfully defeated many rare monsters on levels 3, 5, and 7, and now they were facing the level 9 multi-headed snake monster. Ryota used his homing bullet to kill the monster, and it dropped an enoki mushroom as a rare drop. Duke was happy, and believed they would definitely win. Afterward, Ryota returned to level 1, hoping to make some money as he had made many purchases recently. Suddenly, he was surrounded by Hetero's adventurers, and Eugene appeared, stating that due to him, they were no longer needed. They cast a magic circle that had the same effect as a magic storm, thinking Ryota wouldn't be able to use his pistols. However, Ryota, a true badass, defeated most of the adventurers barehanded and even surprised Eugene when he used his pistols. Ryota used his pistols to heal the injured opponents, and explained that he wasn't angry, as everyone had their reasons to win. He mentioned that he had someone waiting for him at home, and that's why he would never lose. After the battle, Ryota returns home, where he is happy to see Emily and Celeste greet him. Later, Emily prepared a feast for everyone, and she also baked a cake over the campfire which surprised them, but they were even more surprised when Emily mentioned that she also has ice cream. The following morning, Ryota found Celeste hard at work, casting a powerful fire spell to burn down all the trash. She ended up exhausted, and fainted from overworking herself. Ryota used one of his healing bullets to revive her, but she suddenly freaks out wondering why her heart is beating so fast, and it looks like Ryota has another member for his harem. Ryota wondered why Celeste had used a high-level magic spell for disposing a low-level trash, and he learned that Celeste only knew one level 3 Inferno spell. Suddenly, 2 adventurers brought her more trash, and Ryota took care of it. Despite their efforts, the pile of trash kept growing, and Celeste explained that a dungeon master had appeared in Sealand, preventing any adventurers from entering the dungeon and causing stress eating, which generated even more waste. Emily mentioned that a team of adventurers would soon defeat the dungeon master, and Ryota decided to investigate the dungeon, while Celeste is moved by Ryota's kindness towards her. Later, Ryota met Neptune at the headquarters, who had been called in to help fight the dungeon's master. Ryota then learned of an agreement with Hetero that required both teams to cooperate if a dungeon master appeared. However, Hetero's team showed no intention of sending anyone, hoping to take advantage of the situation. If the dungeon master remained for a long time, it would negatively impact the dungeon's drop rate. Ryota initially considered going alone, but he was informed that only a group of 3A rank adventurers or above could enter the dungeon. In his search for suitable teammates, he found that no one was willing to join him. However, when he returned, he was surprised to find Emily and Celeste ready to accompany him. Celeste had found someone to fill in for her, and it turned out to be Eugene and his fellow adventurers. Ryota mentioned that the team members should have at least one A-rank ability, and he was surprised to learn that Celeste had her intelligence and will at A rank. They set off on their adventure, and upon entering the dungeon, they learned that all the monsters had disappeared, as the dungeon master had been awakened. Just then the powerful dungeon master, Bicorn, appeared, and Emily attacked it with her hammer, but her attack didn't work as it had a barrier. However, Ryota requested Celeste's support, and she cast a powerful fire spell to break the dungeon master's barrier. With the barrier destroyed, Emily was able to land an attack that harmed the dungeon master. Despite their efforts, Bicorn created a new barrier, and Ryota plans to hit it with a chain of attacks. Meanwhile, Neptune is surprised to learn that Ryota went into the dungeon, while the Duke is worried for him. We then see Bicorn casting a spell circle, and when Emily tried to attack the Bicorn she became weakened. Ryota received a notification that all his stats had dropped 2 ranks except for his HP and strength. Emily tried to attack Bicorn again, but ended up injuring herself when she destroyed the barrier. They realized that Bicorn had lowered their stats, and Celeste had very little MP left. Ryota decided to continue the fight alone to protect his friends, and Celeste felt ashamed that she had become a burden. However, Ryota assured her that she was wrong and gave great support during the fight. Celeste remembered how everyone had always called her a burden and appreciated Ryota's kind words, giving her hope. She summoned her last bit of strength to cast a powerful fire spell that finally destroyed the barrier. Ryota seized the opportunity and attacked the dungeon master with Emily's hammer, ultimately defeating it. He ran to Celeste, telling her they had won against Bicorn, and he gave Celeste the Bicorn's drop, which increased her magical stats. Celeste can now use level 1 magic with no limitations, and was overjoyed. Afterward, Ryota reported their victory to Duke, who was surprised and thanked him. Neptune's harem girls praised Ryota as a great comrade. Meanwhile, we see Neptune who is scolding Harvard that because of him he missed his chance to fight with Ryota. After that, we see that Celeste was able to learn beginner magic thanks to the Bicorn drop, and expressed her gratitude to Ryota. She asked him when he was leaving Sekro, and Ryota suggested that she come with them. Emily also agreed that Celeste should accompany them, and they all looked forward to their future adventures together. After that, we see Eve, who is dissatisfied with all the average-sized carrots, and growing desperate for Ryota's huge carrots. We then see Ryota's return with Emily and Celeste has become the center of attention due to her beauty. Just then, Urza appears, and she's shocked to learn that someone as beautiful as Celeste is joining Ryota's party. She freaks out, probably wondering if she will ever find a place in Ryota's harem, and leaves. Later, Ryota learned about the Harvest Festival in Sekro, where valuable goods are placed in an arena and used as strays for adventurers to hunt. Celeste wonders why they are in the desert, and Ryota explains that not long ago, he was trying to increase his stats in the dungeon. Unfortunately, his speed was already maxed out, so he collected seeds to be used as strays. Celeste gets shocked when many strays suddenly appear, but Emily assures her that everything will be fine. We then see that Ryota has got many special bullets called binding bullets, after defeating the monsters. Celeste learns about Ryota's secret techniques to obtain special items from strays, and she feels honored that he trusts her to show his secret. Suddenly, they hear explosions in the city, and rush to the scene. A man informs them that a rare drop has turned into a stray, and advises them to escape. Ryota knows that he is the MC of this story, and decides to fight the monster. The group attacks the monster, but it seems unaffected. Emily attempts to strike it with her hammer, but finds herself getting overpowered. Ryota rushes toward the monster, throws it into the sky, and uses his new binding bullets to immobilize it. He finishes off the monster, and obtains a bag as an item drop. However, he notices that Emily is sad as her hammer got bent. She tries to fix it but ends up breaking it, so they decide to buy her a new hammer. Later, Eve finds out from a man that Ryota has returned to town, and she is relieved. The following morning, we meet a man named Smith, who learns about Emily's broken hammer, and offers to forge a new one for free. He plans to use Ryota's reputation as a marketing strategy to make his shop more famous, and Emily is grateful for the offer since it's free. Later, Ryota met the princess's servant, Sebastian, who was delighted to see him. Sebastian mentioned that the air boxes hadn't been selling well lately, and Ryota jokingly suggested selling princesses' underwear. Sebastian, being the perv lord, thinks it's a great idea, but Ryota quickly shifted gears and suggested selling rings, and Sebastian decided to go with it. Meanwhile, the princess found herself overwhelmed by monsters, but Ryota came to her rescue. Princess thanked him for saving her, and wanted him to be her first. She meant the first person to accept their new product as a gift, as it was his idea. Meanwhile, Emily was busy selecting materials for her new hammer, and Eve rushed in looking for Ryota. She learned that Ryota had gone to visit the dungeons, and went in search of him. In the meantime, we saw Ryota, who was thrilled with his new drop item bag that automatically collected drop items. Afterward, Eve ventured into the Nihonium dungeon to locate him but couldn't find him, so she waited at the guild. Later, Ryota arrived at the guild, and Urza requested him to bring her rare drops for the harvest festival. Ryota received a list of rare drops, and collected the money for today's drop items. He was curious why most of the money was in coins, and they explained that the dungeon master in charge of the money drop dungeon had been arrested for corruption. This led to a reduced supply of money drops, and Ryota was shocked to learn that even money was obtained from dungeons. Suddenly, an idea struck him, and later we see that he put 10,000 pilo note on the ground as a stray. His experiment was successful, and a bird monster spawned, attempting to escape. Ryota defeated the monster, and received a potion as a drop which increases a person's drop rates by 3 ranks for 10 minutes. Suddenly, Eve appeared and asked Ryota for his huge carrots. He accompanied her into the dungeon, and collected many carrots for her. Ryota wondered why Eve hadn't asked her party members for help in getting the carrots. We learn that Eve had left her previous party because she didn't get along with them, as she always wanted to eat carrots. Eve then recalled an incident from the past when she was eating meat, and her party members insisted that she should also eat vegetables. This annoyed her, and she ran off. After defeating a monster, a boy was dropped. He was confused about the location, and surprised to see a monster behind her. Eve explained that they were in a dungeon, and she defeated the monster. As a result, the boy admired Eve, and asked her to teach him so he could learn to fight monsters as well. Later, we see Eve injuring a monster, and asks the boy to deliver the final blow. The boy successfully defeated the monster, and a carrot was dropped. Eve had always disliked vegetables, but the boy advised her not to be picky about food, and stuffed the carrot into her mouth. Surprisingly, she liked the taste of the carrots, and decided she wanted to eat carrots forever. However, after this, the boy suddenly disappeared, and it left her with trust issues with forming a party. She felt sad about her D-level drop rate, and her inability to obtain good carrots. Ryota then gave her the potion, and when she defeated a slime monster it dropped a huge carrot. Ryota explained to her that the potion was not for sale, and only he could obtain it. For this reason, Eve begged Ryota to let her join his party. He was surprised since she previously didn't like being in a party, but eventually agreed. Later, when Ryota returned home, he found out that Emily had obtained a new hammer. The girls also learned that Eve would be joining their harem, and Emily was thrilled by this news, while Celeste looked shocked. Some time passes, and we see Ryota entering the room to have breakfast. Suddenly, he noticed that Celeste looked sick, and learned that it was due to the magic storm. Celeste assured him that he didn't have to worry because the headache would stop once the storm passes, and Ryota thinks about buying a house big enough so that Celeste won't feel the effects of the magic storms. Later, we see them entering a house, and Celeste's headache immediately disappears. The agent explains that the house was built using the latest magic storm blocking construction methods. Emily inquires about the price, and they learn that it's quite expensive, but Ryota decides to take it. He mentions that he made up his mind when Celeste felt better here, and decides to move in. Later, they moved into the new house, and Ryota noticed that Celeste liked the new house. Ryota then plans to collect the rare items for the festival, and Eve is desperate for his huge carrots. He tells her that he will bring some carrots for her, and Emily brings them breakfast. We then see Ryota with his harem on Tellulu level 7, and he is surprised by the snow. Celeste explains to him that it is called dungeon snow, and Ryota praises for her knowledge. Then they meet the old arrogant adventurer again, who treated his party members poorly. He's praising them for their hard work, and brainwashing them to do more work. Suddenly, Emily spotted a slime monster in front of them, and Ryota immediately attacked it, but his attacks didn't seem to have any effect on the monster. Celeste mentions these slimes become invincible when near death, and they no longer take damage from the last person to attack them. Celeste then attacks it, and finishes it off. They then plan the attack order so that Ryota will deliver the finishing blow. We then see Emily attacking another slime, and Ryota finishing it off, which drops onions. Eve doesn't like onions, and Emily mentions using them with carrots to make a curry, which makes Eve happy. Suddenly, a rare slime attacks Ryota, and he learns that it can also reflect attacks. Eve mentions that she knows how to defeat the slime, and attacks it. Ryota then defeats it with his pistol, and he gets a rare jewel which reflects the attacks. Later he tests it out, and we see that a slime is unable to land its attacks, getting defeated eventually. Although it's good, Ryota thinks that it takes too much time, and decides to sell it to Urza. Later, he returned to the guild, and sold the rare jewel to Urza. She thanked him, and paid him 3 million pilos for it, which shocked them. Then we see a little girl adventurer who wanted to join an adventurer's party, but everyone rejected her, and Urza felt sorry for her. After that, Ryota fought against a skeleton warrior who dodged his attacks, but he easily defeated it with his kick. The drop raises his magic point, and he wonders how people learn magic. We then see Ryota holding a box, which cost 3 million pilo, and Celeste mentions that since he can't level up, the only other way for him is to eat the magic fruit through which he will learn a random spell. Celeste asks him to eat it, but he has other plans. He uses the magic fruit as a stray, and a metal slime appears. It copies the appearance of Ryota, and they engage in a fight. Initially, his attacks don't seem to work, but he eventually defeats it with his pistol. He gets the advanced magic fruit, and eats it. Later, Emily is surprised to learn that Ryota can now use 2 different spells. First spell is a wind cutter, and for the other spell, he tests it on a slime family. Celeste attacks the slime, causing it to transform. Ryota activated his spell, and Emily defeated the slime. She's surprised by the drops, and he explains that the spell caused her to receive the same drop rate as him. Ryota also learns that it also helped Emily level up, and he's glad to get a spell that could help his friends. The next morning, Ryota went into town, and met Urza. He offered to help Urza, and carried the boxes to the guild house. Suddenly, he notices the same arrogant old man who wanted to recruit the little adventure girl. Urza mentions that the girl's max level is 2, so everyone turned her down. Ryota didn't want the girl to join the old man, so he stopped the old man, and wanted the girl to join his party. Urza helped him out by saying that the Ryota party is the best in town, and the girl was happy to join him. He introduced himself, and learned that her name was Alice. Later he checked her status, and thought that it was very low. They head into the dungeon to level her up, and he learns that she was born in the dungeon while her mom was working there. Alice led Ryota to a skeleton warrior group, and Ryota captured them using his binding bullet. He let Alice finish them up, and later Ryota noticed that Alice was no longer able to level up. Alice said she wanted to go back into the dungeon because Bonzi asked her to return quickly, and Ryota wondered what she was talking about. They go back to Nihonium Dungeon Level 1, and Ryota captures a skeleton warrior based on her request. She defeats the monster, and it turns into a mini version. She seemed to have made the monster into her familiar, and mentions that it would fight with them. Ryota watched as Bonesy enlarged and fought a slime monster, and he was impressed by her abilities. Alice also heard another voice from Jiggly, and met another slime. Alice ordered Bonesy to fight the slime, and the slime knocked off Bonesy's head, but it caught the head and defeated the slime with it. Slime turned into a mini version, and became her familiar. She thanked Ryota as because of him she got Bonesy and Jiggly. In the evening, Ryota returned home, and saw Eve eating a carrot hamburger. Meanwhile, Celeste spotted Alice's cute familiars and wanted to play with them, but unfortunately, the monsters were afraid of her. Later, Ryota asked if they would agree to welcome Alice into their harem, and Celeste is already looking forward to it. Eve asks Alice if she likes carrots, but she says no, and Eve also accepts her as they won't fight over carrots. Emily also agrees, and they look forward to more adventures. Some time passes, and we see Emily cleaning the house, and Ryota returns from work. He learned that Celeste had accompanied Eve to the dungeon because a large pile of carrots had appeared in Telulu. Ryota remembered that Alice was spending time in her previous house because Bonesy was afraid of Celeste. Emily didn't go to the dungeon as she is planning to take Alice to the Harvest Festival, and she asks Ryota to come with them. Following this, they visited the Harvest Festival, and Emily was excited seeing all the different types of stalls. Ryota realizes that all this is new to Emily as she had lived most of her life in a dungeon. Later, Emily saw a collar bell, and Ryota bought it for her. She thanked him for this gift, and used it to tie it on her hammer. After that, they met Alice in a park, and she found a strange stall. Then they went to the stall together, and saw many boxes. The stall owner asked them if they would like to buy some experience points, and they learned that the box contained drops captured from Dungeon Alkyl. They can use it as a stray, which will help them level up. Ryota decides to try it for Emily as he and Alice can't level up. Later, we see them waiting for a stray to spawn, and a mouse-type monster appears. Ryota used his pistol to restrain it, and used his spell. Emily then delivered the final blow, and it dropped a bullet. Alice was surprised as she thought strays didn't drop items, and Ryota explained about his abilities. Ryota learns that he had obtained a strengthening bullet, and wanted to test it out immediately. He loaded his pistol, but when he fired, nothing happened. He thought his pistol was broken, and fired an ordinary bullet from his pistol, but to his surprise the normal bullet had more power. He realizes that it's due to the effect of the strengthening bullet, and decides to buy more boxes from the stall. Later, we learn that Ryota has obtained a lot of strengthening bullets, and returned to the Harvest Festival. Just then they heard some commotion in the town, and saw a monster attacking people. The monster was about to attack a little girl, but Ryota jumped in kicking down the monster. However, the monster stood up again, and grew in size. Emily attacked the monster, but it didn't die, and turned into a giant. Just then, Neptune showed up, and Ryota asked for his help. Neptune then called upon his harem girls, and they casted a spell that gave him wings. Ryota then used his pistol to bind the monster, and they combined their attacks, ultimately defeating it. Afterwards, the girl's mother showed up, and thanked them for saving her daughter. The little girl mentions that she also wants to be an adventurer like Ryota, and he told her that hard work will always be rewarded, which was the same advice which Emily gave him. Just then, Celeste and Eve appeared, and they heard about Ryota fighting a monster. Ryota mentions that Neptune helped him, and he introduces Neptune to his harem. Neptune then asks Ryota to join his harem group, but Ryota wants to become a harem king, so he declines the offer. After that, they went back to the Harvest Festival together, and engaged in other fun activities. Afterward, they ate together, and Alice fed her familiars, while Celeste was overwhelmed by their cuteness. Suddenly, they were shocked to see Eve eating meat, and she explained that she eats meat as well. After that, they bought candy apples, and Alice mentions that there are a bunch of monsters in the direction of the arena. Ryota mentions that goods gathered for Harvest Festival are being used as strays in the arena, and Celeste tells them that fighters participate in pairs. If they manage to defeat the stray, they will get a rare item as a prize, and Ryota plans to join. He asks Celeste to be his partner, and she wondered if it was a confession of love, but she was soon disappointed when she learned that Ryota picked him only because she has more knowledge on the monsters. Following this, we see Celeste and Ryota in the arena, and they fight a rare slime. Ryota defeated the High Gut slime together with Celeste, and everyone in the audience cheered for them. Celeste mentions that she'll work even harder so that he will consider her as part of his harem, and Ryota tells her that he already does, making Celeste blush. Later at night, we learn that they received fireworks set as a rare item, and enjoyed playing with them. Just then, Alice started acting strange, and Ryota was worried about her. He was able to wake her up, and she mentions that a voice was calling her. They learn that it came from Dungeon Nihonium, and Ryota decides to investigate tomorrow as it's already too late. He asks Alice to stay with them tonight, and tells Celeste not to scare Alice's familiar. The following morning, we see Ryota visiting Clint, and he offers him coffee. He asks Ryota how many dozens of cubes he needs, and Ryota tells him that he just needs 1 cube. Later, he notices that Clint's cup is filled with sugar cubes, and he's probably wondering if Clint will catch diabetes soon. Following this, Clint explained that monsters are not dropping any items in any of the dungeons since last night, and Ryota is shocked to hear this. Clint asked him for help, and Ryota decided to investigate the case. Later, we see Emily defeating a slime in Tellulu dungeon, but it didn't drop anything. The other adventurers were desperate because they couldn't make money without drops, and Ryota knew the situation was serious. Eve then asked Ryota to defeat a slime, and when he kills it they receive a carrot. Ryota then recalls the incident with Alice yesterday, and what Emily had told him before. He realizes something, and goes to the Nihonium dungeon. His guess was correct, and the dungeon master of Nihonium showed up, who is a girl. He tries to shoot the girl, but the bullet goes through her, and nothing happens. The woman kicks him down, and Ryota wonders if any of his attacks will work on her. Ryota tried different types of attack, including homing bullets and fusing bullets, but none of them worked. Just when he thought all hope was lost, he noticed that the girl's leg was injured by the homing bullet. He reloaded his pistols, and fired some shots. Initially, the bullets didn't have any effect, but as she attempted to attack him, the bullet struck her. Ryota understood that every time she tried to attack him, that part of her body became vulnerable to attack. So, Ryota shot homing bullets randomly, which would hit her the moment she tried to attack him. However, he eventually ran out of bullets, and fought her with his bare hands. He delivered a powerful headbutt that caused her to fall, and then finished her off with his pistols. The girl vanished, and Ryota passed out. Later, we see Emily waking him up, and Ryota finds himself unable to move due to his injuries. Emily helped him, and used his pistol to shoot a healing bullet at him. Ryota was healed, and Emily informed him that dungeons had begun dropping items again. She told him that he had helped many people, but wished that he wouldn't push himself too hard, and Ryota was grateful for her concern. They decide to head home, and discover a ring dropped by the dungeon master. As they left the dungeon, they were joined by other girls, who are worried about him, but Eve is more worried about her carrots, and Ryota decides to drop by Dungeon Tellulu to gather some carrots for her. All of them expressed their desire to join him, and he was delighted to have them by his side. Afterwards, we see Ryota in Dungeon Nihonium, testing out the abilities of the ring he obtained from defeating the dungeon master. Just then, many skeleton monsters appear, and Ryota shoots them down. He gets many crystals, and then encounters Princess Margaret, who is accompanied by Sebastian and her guards. Sebastian mentions that his ring selling idea won't work for a while as they would need to hunt dragons now, and the princess is unable to defeat dragons as her leveling has become stuck. Her current level is 94 out of 99, and they decide to check out her stats. Ryota notices that even though her level is increasing, her abilities remain at F rank. He then gives her a crystal which he had collected earlier, and it increases her abilities. We learn that the ring turns XP into a crystal after one's abilities are maxed out. They checked her stats, and were surprised to see them at E rank. Ryota then puts a bunch of crystals in her hand, and she ranks up to D, which also raises her level to 96. Princess is delighted that her hard work didn't go to waste, and tries to develop a plot with him, but Ryota, being the typical MC, makes an excuse and leaves. Later, we see that Ryota has bought all the bean sprouts and carrots from the shops. He plans to turn into strays, and level up his party members. Initially, Eve hesitates to use her precious carrots, but Emily convinces her by tempting her with Ryota's huge carrots. After that, many monsters appeared, and Ryota used his pistol to kill them. He instructed Emily and Celeste to take turns collecting his crystals. Later that evening, they check their stats, and learn that Emily has maxed out her level, and Celeste's magic has finally ranked up from F to E. Emily felt sad that Ryota couldn't level up, but he is happy being able to help his team members level up. In the following days, Ryota walked around town with his party members, and they became the talk of the town. We then see them planning to acquire more adventurers' licenses to make their crew look stronger. Celeste and Emily go to take the test for their licenses, and they pass with flying colors. Later that day, Ryota suggests that they venture into the dungeons individually for a while to test their abilities, and evaluate their potential profit. The following week, they all ventured into different dungeons, defeating many monsters. The group turned in quite a good profit, averaging about 2 million pilos per day, and Ryota plans to buy a magic cart for everyone. A few days later, the magic carts arrive, and he explains that these latest models can teleport anything that can fit inside, allowing them to keep hunting without needing to return to town frequently. Alice mentioned that they still had to bring the goods to the guild, and we then see Ryota discussing this matter with Urza in the guild. Later, we learn that Urza will now exclusively work for Ryota, and take care of the goods. After that, we see that the girls decide to throw a welcome party for Urza, and Ryota is surprised to see Neptune has also joined them, and wonders who invited him. Just then, the princess and her guards also came to thank Ryota for his help, and joined the party. Olga also arrives with her dad, and Emily asks them to join the party. Just then, Clint drops by and gives Ryota a year's supply of sugar cubes as a gift for defeating the dungeon master. As the party continues, Ryota reflects on how he was isekai'd here and made many friends. He realizes that they are running short on food supplies due to the unexpected guests, and decides to venture into the dungeon to collect food, and his girls wish to accompany him. This is where the video ends. Hope you liked my recap. Thanks for watching.